This is not the boost rate that there's in Houston, Texas. I'm back.
Oh.
Hey, Robert.
What's happening, buddy?
I see Red Dog, but I only Robbie for a second.
Okay.
How is this 2020? We're in the middle of a fucking global pandemic and none of y'all motherfuckers got Zoom.
Like dealing with my fucking sister's kids.
Tattoos and motorcycles go hand in hand.
Since the time I was a little kid, I've wanted to be in the tattoo industry.
I love sitting watching other tattoo artists work, and I don't get to do it very much. I think a motorcycle is the best sense of freedom you can ever have.
There's just something about it. I love the way it looks. Love the freedom of it.
I'm a wild hog kind of rider. I'm not a lifer like these guys. It hurts my ass.
21 days of just riding my motorcycle. It's phenomenal.
No scripts, no bullshit.
I'll take the whole damn fender off and I'll ride without a fender.
Just real artists, raw stories, and the miles in between.
Am I ready? I've waited for this all my life.
This is Tattoos and Turnpikes.
Hey everybody, thank you for watching Tattoos and Turnpikes. I am director Patrick Lawrence, and today we're here with the entire crew talking about the series and answering some of your guys' biggest questions that you've been leaving us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And hopefully we'll be able to get down and give you guys some answers today. So I'm going to go around the room and introduce. We got Robbie Callery.
What up?
And then we got Red Dog and Big Dave.
What's up?
And then we got Denny hanging out. How has it been the last couple months since the show came out? How has your guys' lives changed since we premiered?
The response has been incredible. My life has changed just in the connections and the networking that the show has opened up for me. We just got back from Sturgis, and several people that I've looked up to all my life are now we're having conversations, and we're in the same industry, which is awesome. You know, the motorcycle industry. Somehow doing this show has provided some sort of credibility. Financially, my life has plummeted due to paying for this thing. However, everything else is good. No, it's things are good, real good. I'm very excited about the response and doing it again in the future for sure.
Red Dog, how have things been the last couple months?
Very gratifying. Like Dave said, the response was nice. It's good. Whenever Dave, pitched this idea to me years ago, I actually thought it was something that was pretty brilliant. So I was eager to get on board, and to see the positive response of how everyone's enjoying it and really staying keen on the reality of it and a show that was actually real. It feels good to be part of something that you're actually proud of the work. We didn't have to put on any act. We were able to go out and be ourselves, and being ourselves got a positive reaction. The people enjoyed it for us being ourselves, and I like that.
People that are in the motorcycle scene, that are in the tattoo scene, getting the positive response from them, and not that we needed any approval, you know what I'm saying, or that we were looking for any sort of approval. However, getting the nod from some of the people that we've gotten the nod from is incredible. Early on, we had gotten the suggestion not to read the YouTube comments. However, minus a couple, negative comments, the majority of them is just an outpouring of support. And it's just been amazing to see all of it come to reality, just to see, because we filmed all that 5 years ago. So I didn't know what it was going to be like. I've changed so much as a person since that came out. So to see that something we did get such an amazing response, it's just super proud of it and how it all turned out.
So some people catch me and say, hey, you're the guy from Tattoos and Turnpikes or whatever. I see the response that the other people has gotten around the shop, so that's all good. But me, on a personal note, I just haven't been around a whole lot the last couple of months to join into all the excitement on it.
Somebody came up to me on the strip in Sturgis and comes up and they're like, hey, are you Robbie the tattoo guy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the tattoo guy. And he says, like the Turnpikes tattoo guy? And I said, yeah. First thing out of his mouth, is Denny really that big of a pussy?
Well, here's the deal. It's kind of designed that way. I'm in a world of, I mean, some people load up on their motorcycles and plan a 400-mile trip, but I don't fathom stuff like that.
It's a good thing you spent the last 5 years honing your motorcycle skills for season 2. I'll tell you this, Denny. Today, I was on the phone, and these exact words came out of my older brother Bob's mouth. He said, whatever you do, you have to have Denny on the second season. I'm like, well, of course he's going to be on the second season. He's like, I'm a weekend rider. I'm not a everyday rider. And him being miserable had me rolling the whole time.
Yeah.
So, we went through and we had questions from all the social media, and we've been having questions drop in the comments on YouTube all season long. And so right off the bat, I want to get right to a controversial thing, and I want to address probably one of the comments we got the most, and it was about the combat vets.
A couple of Gabe's customers stopped by. They're part of a motorcycle club that is made up of nothing but veterans. What's up?
Big Dave, I want you to meet my friends.
They had the full sleeves. Gabe's done extensive work on these guys.
These guys are from the Combat Vets Motorcycle Club. These guys do a lot for the veteran community.
We were addressed to the Combat Vets by Famous Gabe as a motorcycle club. Dave then referred to them as a motorcycle club in the interview. And that's how we aired it, because that's how we were introduced to them. But we had a huge backlash from the audience about that, because they are, in fact, a motorcycle association.
Yeah, just first and foremost, man, in the moment when we're talking and, none of us are actors, and we're just rolling. When the editing process was happening, he'd ship the videos to me, and I would go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure there was nothing there. And I don't know how I missed that one. In the motorcycle world, an MC and an association are two completely different things. And it was just a miswording, and sometimes miswordings make a huge difference. So for those of you that are in an MC or support MCs, definitely apologize. It was not our intent to disrespect you or to misname the combat vets. We did see several combat vets while we were in Sturgis, and I got to say hi to them and talk to them, and they are a good group of people, and I'm grateful that they were on our show, and I'm grateful for the work that they're doing and for the service that they've provided us.
Everybody wanted to know, what were the bikes that you were riding on the trip? We kind of talked about featuring the bikes more when we did the pilot, and it was one of those things that in the edit, it really kind of got overlooked. So I know I just found out recently that, Robbie, you actually had a different bike, and you had an issue before we left, and so you had to borrow a different bike.
Yeah. At the time, I had my personal, my everyday bike was a 1985 FXR. And it wasn't so much that the bike had an issue. It was just not a motorcycle that was suited for a 5,000-mile trip. Maybe not so much that it wasn't suited, because the one that I wound up taking wasn't necessarily suited for 5,000 miles either. It was just that it was an old motorcycle. We had no idea how many miles were on that motor. That motorcycle had caught on fire multiple times while I was riding it. So it was not a good idea to take it on a 5,000-mile trip. But what I wound up riding was a 2002 Harley-Davidson Softail. I mean, everybody can see in the show, it had been heavily modified. It had 24-inch ape hangers on it, jockey shift, a custom fabricated rear fender.
Two of them.
Red Dog, what were you on?
I was on an 05 Softail Pep Boy.
Denny, a couple people asked about your motorcycle.
Man, I bought that motorcycle about 3 weeks before that trip. Pretty sure Dave found it.
That was a 2004 FX DXP, so it's a Dyna police bike.
Yeah, geared for the city. 5-speed.
Shit. Oh, capable of running at high RPMs.
fully capable of running 90 miles an hour for long periods of time.
I know, because Spacey did it on that bike.
Denny was just breaking it in for Spacey.
I had the Road Glide. There's a 2011 Road Glide custom. I used to hate baggers, man. I used to give my friends all kinds of shit about having a bagger, and I was a chopper guy. Full custom chopper. That's what I wanted. And as I grew and rode more and more, I enjoyed a little bit more comfort and a little bit more comfort. I think you have a bike for every different ride or every different riding situation that you have. So going cross country, I wanted the Road Glide. I'm still riding that bike today. I just took it up to Sturgis and back. So I love that bike.
Would you guys have taken something else instead if you could have?
In hindsight, I wouldn't have taken something else. I mean, that bike was brutal to ride for that far. However, after doing it and accomplishing it, I wouldn't go back and take something different. On the next one, I may have something different.
Denny?
If I get my own choice, a car. Anything with 4 wheels and air conditioning.
A Mazda.
We didn't want to be in the car that we were in. I'll tell you that much.
I definitely would have traded with the truck on the highway in Texas, but the guy didn't want to pull over. So there's this guy, and he's driving next to me, and I see that he's holding pace with me, and he's got his windows up, and he's not sweating, and by now it's over 100 degrees. I feel that he's looking at me, so I finally shoot him a glance, and he gives me the thumbs up. Like a dick move, I look at him, and I say, "F*** you," because I would have traded spots with him in a minute.
I think we do need to discuss what Patrick and the film crew rode on that trip.
Yeah, there were some accusations that we were faking your guys' riding shots and that you guys were sitting on a trailer while we were filming. That didn't happen at all. We were riding in a
04 S10.
An 04 S10 5-passenger. It had a cab on it too, and and we had 5 crew members packed into that car for 21 days. Well, we were having water pump issues, and Denny, you were constantly saving our ass at every gas station for a while, and because we were trying to get to every stop as quickly as we could, and you got, for the first couple days it was a learning experience. So we were just as a film crew, we were like point A to point B, let's get to the next shop. But we didn't realize how much of a terror that was on you guys, especially as we drove through Oklahoma. That turnpike through Oklahoma is no joke. It takes so long, and that trip on paper, it's something like a 5-hour trip, but man, I mean, it felt like 8 hours. And by the time we got to Cannibal Graphics, we were all wore out. Those were the worst interviews of the whole show, because you guys didn't want anything to do with it. You guys were all done. And Denny had a blast. He loved his tattoo. So that was the saving grace of the whole episode. But yeah, we were just grinding from stop to stop to get there. And we had to sort of make up for you guys, because we kind of caught on that you guys had to make more frequent stops than we did. Yeah, the shots are not fake. We had 2 cameramen shooting out the windows. Every time you guys would pass us by, we would grab those shots. And a couple times we mounted a camera in the back of the cab like we did in Daytona, and we just drove around Daytona with the camera shooting out the back of the cab. So yeah, all of those shots are 100% real, and yeah, that's you guys riding on them.
If there was going to be any fake riding on that trip, then he would have done it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, next question comes from Ruben RC 93, and it was, what was everybody's favorite tattoo of the trip? There were 17 tattoos between the 4 of you guys, Sweet J, and Gonzo. And so what were your guys' favorite tattoos?
I like both of my tattoos. I wish the one on the back of the arm I could have got on my leg. Unfortunately, the sunburn of riding through Texas and stuff by myself, wasn't able to do that. I wish it was bigger and on my leg. As far as anybody else's tattoo, I think probably Red Dog's Popeye.
I got to go with my Popeye also. I thought my Popeye it just turned out exactly how I pictured it. As far as anybody else's, I like Dave's tattoo for his daughter, Angel, that little rag doll. I thought that was pretty crafty how that turned out. I like that one.
My favorite tattoo I got on the trip is probably my FTH on my wrist. Just
glutton for punishment.
Oh my gosh. Jackie, you're watching, I love you. However, she was a hammer.
She feels neat.
She felt neat. She cranked that thing up to 15 volts and just pounded it. Yeah, I like the FTH just for what it means for me, what it meant for the show at the time. You know, FTH stands for fuck the how. And, you know, when we come up with this idea, I had no idea how we were going to make it happen and how it was going to take place or how we were going to generate the money for it, or even with the investors that we took on. They're like, how are we going to make our money back? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, fuck the how. It's not my job to figure out the how. It's just my job to do it, you know, to start doing it, take the steps. So that's what the FTA means for me. And then to have Jackie Gresham, a 7-year-old black lady from the South that's owned a tattoo parlor in the French Quarter, that's been tattooing for 40 years, tattoo fuck the how on my wrist. Because I think she's like the definition of fuck the how. You know, she wanted to open up a tattoo shop. She stayed open after Katrina, and she's just tried and true and a testament for perseverance and just putting one foot in front of the other and making it happen.
The piece that Spacey gave me is probably my favorite experience, you know, just because, you know, me and Spacey have become such good friends post filming. You know, so, and that tattoo had a super deep meaning. However, the tattoo that I got from Brandon Bennett, that tattoo still looks like the day he did it. People comment on it all the time. It's absolutely beautiful.
Hey, Patrick, on another note, about 6 months later, I drove back to Oklahoma City because my dad's sister lives there. And I went back to Cannibal Graphics and I got the rest of my arm done. 6 hours, he got me in, did me a great deal on it.
That's awesome, because at the end of the episode, you said, I'm coming back. And for a guy that doesn't like tattoos, I always thought that was an interesting statement.
I'm a man of my word.
And that's another funny part of the show, was that with COVID and everything, as we were releasing the show, we're going to put out the episode, and that was episode 2, and I find out that Cannibal Graphics just closed at the beginning of May. So we did our part to really get all that information to make sure that people knew that, you know, if you liked Cannibal Curtis and his art, you got to go see him at his new shop, which is Carbon Abstract in Oklahoma City. So that's just how the industry changed and over the few years and just even the last couple months. It's been nuts, the amount of people that have had to close shops or move on or do something else. Okay, so our next question comes from Barebones Leather. And he said, what was the most memorable day of riding?
Good question. By the way, that's owner of Barebones Leather has done some leather work since the show. I didn't know him prior to the show, and he's done some leather work for me. So shout out to Barebones Leather.
We were in Florida. I couldn't tell you where we were at. I mean, we wound up transversing the entire coastline of Florida, but
Detroit Avenue.
That one. It was pretty cool when we went through those gnarly storms and we got split up and like hail, and we were hunkered down in the bushes with like palm leaves over us and shit. Like, that was pretty cool. However, yeah, the mountains, man, between I guess it was between Chattanooga and Nashville. That was probably my favorite day of riding. The weather was good. The scenery was beautiful.
We were on the home stretch. We had fought rain and hail and time and the heat, and that day was just a good day of riding.
It's really tough. I mean, my motorcycle don't have music or anything like that, so there's a lot of mind time. So just seeing a lot of areas I've never been to and ride through that, I don't know that I could pick a most memorable day. I'd say there's a handful of them that I'm gonna remember forever.
What do you think about in between cities on Mine Time?
Oh man, you don't want to get deep in the mind of Denver. Trust me.
The first thing that came to my head was either going down into Texas when our bikes were overheating because it was so hot, and that was a very memorable day. The bikes were so hot that just being on the bike, like positioning my legs up on the highway pegs, were hot. Down on the floorboards, it was, and we actually had to pull over and let our bikes cool off. We were on a time crunch. I'm going to tell the story. We're on a time crunch, and our bikes are overheating, and the film crew wanted to get this shot of us, and so they had to circle back. In that scene in Texas, there's the town with all the American flags hanging up, and because they were in front of us, they didn't get the shot of us going through there, and they wanted it, so we circled back around, and we did it a couple times just to make sure that we got a good shot of us going through that town. And they were like, hurry, because we want to get the shot. However, we got to get rolling. And our bikes, once we slowed down, there wasn't enough air to keep the bikes from overheating, and the bikes were all ticking and knocking. And so we pulled over, and Denny was frustrated and angry. And one of the film crew had said,
2 minutes.
You got 2 minutes, Denny.
That was memorable for Denny.
that was one of the most memorable days of riding. Denny looked at me and looked at him, and I don't remember the words. However, I remember doing my best to keep Denny from killing him. And Patrick had a talk that evening in the hotel, and and it was explained that in LA, and that the film crew kind of just bosses people around, and even if they're not meaning it, that's just kind of like on a construction crew, the foreman just the people to do stuff, and they do it. And I get it. However, we're not actors, and
We don't work for that construction company.
right. We're not actors. We didn't sign into that role. So when he's performing like he does in LA, and we're performing like we do in Lincoln County, it did not correlate very well. So we got it all under control.
We were learning along the way, like I mentioned before, about how you guys had to slow down. And with your bikes ticking and knocking, like that was something we were not aware of. And yeah, you're right. And from a film industry standpoint, you have a call time. You have to be there at a certain time. We knew where we were going and where we were trying to get to, but it's always like we got to go. And we were also in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and somebody had left a comment on YouTube asking us why we didn't say the name of that town, and it's because we didn't fucking know where the hell we were. And I still don't know what town that was.
Spanish Fort.
Spanish Fort?
Yep, Spanish Fort, Texas.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Spanish Fort.
When I first started this, I said I'd gotten filmed on another reality show, and it was fake. And then when I lined up everything with you, Patrick, it was like we spent so much time discussing what I wanted and how I wanted it to be real and authentic, and the amount of measures that we went through to make that, and people have asked me, like, what happens when this or that? It's like, even the film crew, like we all did this together on this trip and learned from each other and grew and became a working unit, and I plan on keeping it as a working unit. I don't want to work with anybody else. I love what we got going on.
Yeah, that was a thing that we noticed in the edit of the show as well, especially when we did test the show out for certain people and see how it played, just on a general sense. And that was something that we heard, was that, why are there less breakdowns? Why is there less drama in the second half of the show? And it was because by the time we hit Florida, we were a well-oiled machine. We knew exactly what we were doing and where we were going. So there were less breakdowns, there were less Dennyisms, there were less of everything, and it just became a little bit more serious because we had everything on. If anything, Spacey had more breakdowns, but within the context of the show, it didn't work. So that's why we have the Spacey versus the gas cap deleted scene, because within the show itself, it didn't really work, but it was a really memorable, funny moment where he just took the gas cap off and took off, or as he put it, the bike didn't want it.
Dude, hey, it's nothing has changed in the world of Spacey. Like I just got back from Sturgis yesterday. Spent 2 weeks living with Spacey in a campground in Sturgis, and the few rides that I got the opportunity to go on with Spacey, one of them he ran out of gas. When we were meeting Dave. Like we had a time to meet him and go make an appearance at Full Throttle Saloon, and he ran out of gas, so we had to call back, get him some fuel on the way, and then I went and met Dave. And then on another occasion, his whole foot control on the left side just snapped on his bike, because them roads in South Dakota are pretty rough. But yeah, not a lot's changed in the realm of Spacey and his motorcycle. I do believe his gas cap did fly off at one point as well over the past couple weeks when we were out there. I wish we could have got him into the Zoom, but I'm pretty sure he's on his way back from Sturgis right now, somewhere between Sturgis, South Dakota, and Meridian, Mississippi. So
our next question comes from Yoda177, and they asked, were there any practical jokes played on each other on the trip?
Other than Robbie punching Red Dog in the nuts?
Yeah, that was a great practical joke.
They lay Red Dog back, and they put these hot towels all over his face, and they're getting him ready for this shave. Dave whispers in my ear,
I said ass.
Please tell me you got it. We're not doing it again.
"We got it."
What makes it real funny is there was a razor against my neck. That's great.
oh man,
I taped up Denny's speedometer. That didn't do anything.
New Orleans.
Hey, is a $13 hot dog considered a practical joke?
So Red Dog makes a comment in one of these shows about some people like a $13 hot dog. I just don't see that.
It's when we were getting free hot dogs at Cowboy Harley-Davidson, and I make a comment about a $13. We're in New Orleans. Was it New Orleans? We're in New Orleans, and we go into this place to get lunch, and it's a little hot dog stand. As it turns out, you get kind of a gourmet hot dog. However, you're charged $13 for it.
It was a big wiener. It was a big wiener.
It is not a $13 wiener. All right, you don't pay $13.
You know, when we got there, me and Robbie walked around the entire block and tried to look for somewhere else to eat, and there was none.
It's funny because I didn't know that that $13 hot dog line, I thought that it was just off the cuff. I didn't know you were referencing the New Orleans line.
Okay, you referencing New Orleans
Yeah.
hot dog. Yeah, no.
Well, the funny thing about that was, again, from a film crew standpoint, we were like, how do we get food closest to the location as quickly as possible? And we saw this ad for hot dogs a block away from Jackie's shop. So we thought, let's go there, and then we could immediately go and shoot the episode. But everybody else wanted crawfish and New Orleans fare, and so we chose this fucking hot dog place.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my most famous lines in the entire show has been thrown in my face a million times since it aired, is, I want to get some crawfish. Like, if I could go back and not say that line, like, I would.
Okay, so the next question comes from Heather Moser. She said, what was your favorite stop for each of you? So besides the most memorable day of riding, what was your favorite stop, your actual stop on the trip?
That little town in Texas. No,
Then he got to get out some pent up aggression.
Well, I already forgot the name of it. What's it called, Robbie? Sanford?
Spanish Fort.
Spanish Fort. I can answer real quick. Mine was the Key, and there's only one reason I picked that. My wife put up there, and I got time with my wife.
Sap. Dallas was one of my favorite stops. One, Jesse,
Sap.
and Erica showed up. And we had arranged it with Vinnie Paul. He's the drummer for Hell Yeah and the former drummer of Pantera. We had arranged it that we were going to go to their clubhouse, Vinnie Paul's clubhouse. And we got the okay. They were going to put a sign on the door that said that anybody that got videotaped, or that we were going to be videotaping that night. And I was really excited about that endorsement and just having them on the show. And then they got
good footage.
Yeah. And then they got, right, great footage. And then they got booked on a tour, so they weren't going to be there. However, Mikey, which is one of his close friends and his bus driver, and a couple other of the Hell Yeah family were there. And we got to go to that club and hang out and got treated like family there. I got to see my brother and my sister in Texas. Jesse showed up, so that was a really good stop.
My favorite stop on that trip was probably Daytona. Tabby was still with us when we went to Daytona. You know, after the engagement, so we were flying pretty high, and you know, we got to wander around the beach after dark. It was probably one of my favorite stops was Daytona.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have no stories of my old lady coming out and visiting me because I wasn't privy that was going to happen before the show.
If your old lady would have showed up, Denny, you would have left and not done the trip.
That might be true.
Right.
New Orleans was cool because I've never been there. You know, I'd been to almost every other state we visited. You know, that spot that we stopped in Dallas and saw all the JFK stuff. Just little memorable stuff like that, you know, stick with me.
I did like Jacksonville a lot. Jacksonville was just a great stop. I mean, we got Jason, and then Roadside Marty showed up, and then we went bowling, and then Bobby Cathcart ended up stopping in. There were so many people that stopped in there that maybe didn't make the episode that we weren't aware of that were coming. And that whole connection that they all have, they're like a giant extended family along that coastline. And we got to all kind of party with them and hang out at the bowling alley. That was pretty fun.
You know, that ride from Spacey's shop was pretty nice. I think it was all back roads, and that was probably one of the shortest rides we had, I think. So I don't think we ever broke 50 miles an hour, my kind of ride.
I got a funny behind the scenes story is that Denny left. When we got to Pensacola, Denny left, but for some reason, going back and editing the footage in that combat vet scene, he's sitting in the windowsill. So I had to figure out how to punch in to hide Denny because he's sitting there in the whole scene. And narratively in the show, he's supposed to be gone already. But for some reason, he was still sitting there.
I left about 2 hours before Dave's tattoo was done. I was waiting for a rent-a-car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, you didn't walk in with everybody. So we just weren't there.
We knew that I was catching a rent-a-car, so I tried to stay out. That's why I was sitting outside. I tried to stay out. That's why everybody was in his room. I wasn't, but yeah.
All right, so here's a question not having to do with the trip, but a lot of people asked about who does the theme song for the show. And Dave, you had a hand in the inspiration for this, so do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we have a local band here in St. Louis called Fivefold, and we first did the block party. They came and played, and well, the first time I seen them, I think they were like 16 and 17 years old, and they were playing the Point Fest side stage, which is a big festival here that our radio station puts on, 105.7 The Point puts on, and they were playing a side stage, and I really wasn't a fan of theirs, and they were young and just had a different sound. And then they just kept on pursuing, man. They kept on and kept on. And we had them at the block party. They came and played, and you could tell how much they've grown and developed. And then when I met them, they were just super kind and super down to earth, tremendous human beings. And we become friends. They become a staple in the block party. And when we decided we were doing this and we knew that we were doing this and we'd filmed it, I had asked them if they would do the theme song for it. And they said, yeah. And they actually had us all down. Or did you go with that? Did you?
No, just us three.
It was just me, Robbie, and Red Dog went down to their studio one night, and we listened to them rehearse, and we just had a big interaction with them and told them what parts of the songs that they currently had that we liked, what and then they talked to us about what we wanted to express in the theme song, and so we had a conversation, and then we turned it loose. So I will put my stamp of approval on their music and them as people. So tremendous guys.
Okay, Dave, this is a question for you from Daniel Oaks 42. What did your parents say and think when you showed them your first tattoo? You mentioned on the show that you came from a Mormon household, and that you and Melissa actually grew up in the Mormon faith and both became tattoo artists. So what was their reaction to your first tattoos?
So my first tattoo was a 9-inch rat on my upper thigh. I went to Mike Pease to get it, and I used to hang out at Mike Pease's tattoo shop because he was the best artist that I knew, and I was inspired by him. I was an artist, and so I thought it'd be funny to have a rat on my thigh. And I was actually 17, I believe. And so when I got it, I didn't tell my parents that I got it. It was hidden under shorts. And then I got a bear on my arm a few months later. And my sister saw it. My younger sister saw it, and she freaked out. And I'm like, don't say nothing. And I knew that it was eventually going to come out. If she saw it, my parents were going to end up seeing it. So I told my mom that I had something to tell her, and she was like, what? And I'm like, I really don't want to tell you. And she was like, you tell me anything. And I'm like, I don't necessarily want to tell you. And so I remember it was this big moment in her bedroom, and I'm sitting on her bed, and I looked at her and I'm like, I got a tattoo. And she's like, let me see it. And I pulled it up, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's huge. Now, hold this. This is the tattoo. It's not huge. I mean, it's anyway, she's like, oh my gosh, it's huge. And so big. And she's like, when you said you got a tattoo, I thought you maybe had like a little heart on your ass. I think she said butt. You had a little heart on your butt, or a bomb or something on your butt. I never thought. She's like, David. And I'm like, all right, I got something else to tell you. I got one on my leg. So I had already moved out of the house by then. So there wasn't much, at that time. That was probably the least of their concerns.
Well, somebody asked, and I can't find it, but somebody asked, what was everybody's first tattoo?
My first tattoo, it's actually covered up now. It was a small little jester with a little skull, and I got it in Ottumwa, Iowa, for an abate where they put on a Thank God It's Spring every year. They have it's in a little gymnasium, and you drink beer and you get tattoos, and that was my first one. It's now covered up, but that was my first.
What was your second?
My second was my bulldog, my red bulldog on my other arm.
My first tattoo was a tribal tattoo that has since been covered up. I had it done in Abilene, Texas on my 18th birthday. Went in, picked it off the wall, and like I said, now it's been covered up by my Elvis. Dave did a cover up. I had it hit with a laser once, and it kind of faded a little bit. We still got to finish the piece. You know how tattoo artists are.
My first one, I think Dave touched on this in one of the episodes, actually. I'm the oldest, but yeah, I went in and picked a Yosemite Sam right off the wall.
Didn't your dog portrait cover that up?
No. That was my first in the basement kitchen scratcher tattoo. 6 hours with a homemade gun and a homemade needle. And boy, it was rough. It took about 5 years to find someone to cover that one.
Okay, Denny, while we're on you, at Uneasy Rider asked, Denny, what can I say? If you didn't want to be there, why go?
Well, I think the show explains that pretty well. You know, me and Dave are partners in a couple businesses, and I'm friends with these guys, but more so they knew what I'd be like on a trip like that. And it would be the same thing. I mean, my interests are a little different. If I brought one of these guys in for a week long or a weekend long drag race or a week out on a boat, they probably wouldn't enjoy themselves. But I actually did enjoy myself, though. I mean, it's just, that's a lot of fucking riding, man.
Good for the soul, man.
That's exactly why we brought Denny. Like, first off, people that don't know this, like when I first started tattooing, back then you just mailed the state of Missouri, filled out this form, mailed them $37.50, and they sent you your tattoo license in the mail, you know, as long as there wasn't anything. And I knew that I wanted to tattoo, and I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, and I just didn't want to be in an environment. I was fairly new in recovery, and I couldn't find a safe place or a place that I felt like I would stay on the path. And Denny opened up a shop, and I told him that I would come work for him as long as he made me partner or sold out to me within 2 years. And he said, okay. And we shook hands, and within a few months he made me partner, and we've been friends and like family ever since. And I had a vision of where this was going to go and what was going to happen, and I definitely wanted Denny a part of it, you know. I also knew that it would be great film, Denny on a motorcycle for 5,000 miles. So that's what a whole lot of people don't necessarily understand. You know, Denny's the quiet guy in the background. However, none of it would have been possible had Denny not followed through with his vision and opened up a shop, and then allowed me to come in and be a part of it.
You know, I went because my respect for tattoo and art that I didn't have when I opened the shop. I probably really didn't have business opening a shop. I'll be 100% honest. I got into it as a side business to make extra money. After becoming friends with artists, you know, after becoming friends with Dave, and then Robbie was the first artist me and Dave ever hired. After getting to know them and their families and be around them, you build personal relationships. So my respect for art is a lot more. So when Dave wanted to do the show, and you know, invite me on it, the motorcycle ride across the country wasn't why I went, but you know, to promote the tattoo side of it, and anything to help our shop, you know, I'm all for.
All right, Red Dog, the real Big Rob asks, why does my Windows 97 not work?
Well, because it's 2020. that's an obsolete piece.
I don't think there is a Windows 97, is there?
There is Windows 97, and it was established in '86. The reason that's not working is because it's no longer any good. I work in Circuit City, and we've got a saying in the break room: once it hits the shelf, it's already obsolete. So something that you picked up back in '86 is not going to be working anywhere. Right now, you guys are being introduced into Boosters 8. Booster 8's done. Booster 8's not even out there anymore. That's an obsolete piece. So I'm sorry, Big Rob. I just now picked up my first iPhone today, and I'm already making magic on just this new iPhone. It's a 7. Is it a 7?
It's 11.
It's an 11. So I can't Zoom with it, of course. So that's why I'm cuddled up to my Big Dave here. Yeah, Big Rob, that's an obsolete piece. Don't even bother buying a Booster 8. What you want now is you're going to want what's called a Mega G9. And it's going to plug – I don't know why you're laughing. This is good shit. It's dead serious. A Mega G9 is going to plug right into your modem, and then you're good to go.
What modem?
The one that's on the floor. That white box.
The floor model modem.
Yeah, it slides right into the printer. Right. Hit F9. It'll print anything out.
Mental note. Write that down.
Write that down.
All right, before I ask the last question, a lot of people asked us where they can get Tattoos and Turnpikes merchandise, which I have hanging up over here. Big Dave approves. And we got the tour shirt here. You guys can get those from cycletshop.com. We'll have a link in the description. That's super great quality. They just started shipping out about 2 weeks ago, and they come fully packaged. They look great. They fit great. Campbell's doing a really good job making those. So go visit cycletshop.com, and you can choose between 3 Tattoos and Turnpikes t-shirts, and we'll probably have some more coming real soon, especially if you guys dig these. Dave, a few people ask, who the hell is the guy in the frame pictures?
I'm in the tattoo shop and I have my little, I have my cubby over here and he sits here. Yeah, there he is. So I'm in recovery and I'm in a 12-step program, and Bill is my sponsor, and we call him Crazy Billy, not because he's crazy, because he grew up in New York, and when he went back to New York, one of his buddies introduced him. Guys like, yeah, this is my buddy Bill, and he's like, yeah, I know who you are. You're Crazy Billy. He's like, no, and he's like, yeah, everybody calls you Crazy Billy. And he's like, no, you got the wrong guy. And then what he realized is that everybody behind his back called him Crazy Billy, and he never knew it. So anyway, he's my sponsor in 12-step program, and we thought that it would be fun to bring him along. We brought like 3 or 4 different pictures of him and hung him up at every location that we were at, except for the episodes he was actually in. So
that was the only thing that was skidding. That's the only thing that was playing.
Right. Yeah. So we put that in the shop and then let the B-roll camera get pictures of it, and it's kind of the hidden Easter egg in every episode. So if you're unfamiliar, go check the episodes out and look for the Where's Waldo? Where's Crazy Billy?
And what's crazy is like he's mean mugging in all those pictures, but if you meet him, I mean, he's one of the softest, most gentlest people you've ever met in your entire life. I mean, like, he was in a Jimmy Buffett cover band for a little while, and he's just one of the sweetest men you'll ever meet.
Bill was the first guy I asked him to be my sponsor because I met up with him, and this is after me and Denny had the first shop, and I was pretty successful, had a relationship, had a tattoo shop, and it was a stereotypical biker tattoo shop. Like, we'd done burnouts in the tattoo shop. We smoked in the tattoo shop. It was open all hours of the night. And when I first ran across Bill, he was like, your life is a fucking train wreck. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I got a tattoo shop. I got a relationship. He's like, what's sad is you don't even see it, man. And, I wasn't used to people talking to me that way. I just really wasn't. And like Robbie touched on this somewhere in the show, I think, people oftentimes give tattoo artists this like celebrity status, or they always want good deal. I don't know what it is. However, people I've experienced people treating me different than they do other people. And so I wasn't used to people talking to me that way. And when he said that to me, I went home that night and I thought, I was kind of mad. And then I thought, he's not telling me that to piss me off. He's actually telling me that because he sees something that I didn't see. And so I asked him to sponsor me, and he's been my sponsor ever since. So my life has definitely drastically improved since having Crazy Billy in my life.
Hey, this is Big Dave. If you want to stay in touch, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button for all new content.